today's webinar, as most of you should already be aware, is we're going to be exposing you to all the great features and functionality of G Suite Enterprise. G Suite Enterprise is the top tier solution for G Suite. It's the license that provides you with the most amount of features, security, and other ancillary applications that we're going to be showcasing you today. The three speakers we have lined up are myself, Joey Maller. I run our Google Cloud team here at Upcurve Cloud. Brandon Ferreira, who runs our customer success team here at Upcurve Cloud, and the one and only Devin Anthony from Google. He is an account management rep who we work really close with, and he'll be speaking on a couple of topics today as well. The agenda for the webinar today is we're going to spend a little bit of time, 2 or 3 minutes, just talking about some of the new features that are in G Suite, regardless of which license type you have. So these are some of the new features that you may have already noticed being rolled out or will be rolled out in the near future. And then we'll jump into G Suite Enterprise and talk about some of the most the most functional and necessary items within Enterprise, which are meetings, mobile device management, archiving, security, DLP, user management, reports, and workflows. And we'll talk about promotional pricing that's only going to be available for the next 10 days or so, and then we'll leave some time for Q&A. So let's jump into some of the new things that have already been rolled out to G Suite, and it doesn't matter which version you're on, you should have these already available, or they will be scheduled to be rolled out to you in the near future. The admin console has been enhanced. You'll notice some of the UI changes, but really it's become the centralized console for provisioning, for providing different setups within your domain or within different organizational units. So you should notice that the admin console has had a big upgrade. Obviously the new Gmail interface has been rolled out. If your company has not rolled it out to you yet, you should probably ask your admin, because the old Gmail will be sunset at some point, and everyone will be required to use the new Gmail interface, which you can see here. If you haven't used it, you're going to love it. The new side panel, which you'll see right here, gives you quick access to your calendar, to notes, and to tasks. It's a lifesaver, a time saver, absolutely critical to being your most productive self. Just by clicking on the calendar, you can see what your schedule looks like for today without having to jump into your calendar. The smart suggestion replies are rolling out not only on the app side for your smart devices, but also on the desktop side as well. You'll notice that you have the ability to quickly reply with short little sentences, and it does use artificial intelligence and machine learning to understand the type of vernacular, the type of speech that you use to answer these questions. A new secure confidential mode is going to be rolled out pretty soon to users, and this is going to give you the ability to revoke access to an email after a certain period of time. It's going to prevent accidental data leaks, and it's going to provide optional two-factor authentication to even open up an email message. So this is something that's going to be rolling out starting early 2019. The calendar UI has also been updated, and if you guys are not sharing calendars within your domain, we highly recommend that you start to do that, because it's going to give you the ability to be more productive and be able to schedule meetings, as you can see here, with people at the appropriate time without having to go through email back and forth. Assigning action items and explore within Google Docs. So you can now assign a specific task to somebody from within a Google Doc just by doing the @mention. And once they've completed that task, you will be notified that that person has completed it. So this, again, saves a lot of time from having to go find out if somebody did what they were supposed to do. And then using the Explore button. If you haven't used this yet, I highly recommend you start to use it, not only in Docs, but Sheets and Slides as well. You can see here in this example that this is a statement of work, and this person needs to get access to some content from a contract. So without having to go into Drive, find that file, you could just use the Explore button and search within your domain, within your drive, or on the web for the content that you need to bring into this document. So again, a big time saver, allows you to be much more efficient. With that, we're going to now jump into G Suite Enterprise and talk about what it comes with, why it's become the de facto for a lot of businesses, especially in the regulatory space. And these are some of the high-level topics in regards to what you can expect with an upgrade to G Suite Enterprise. The first topic is going to be around meeting experiences, and I'm going to hand it over to Devin to walk through exactly what this looks like and what you can expect from an upgrade to Enterprise. Devin?
Thanks, Joey, and thank you everyone for joining us this morning. As Joey mentioned, my name is Devin Anthony, and I work here at Google on the account management team. So I want to take a look at a couple of things today, and the first thing that I want to cover is the better meeting experience with G Suite Enterprise. So in this first slide here, I want to talk about a few things. So one major trend that we're seeing is the evolution of the distributed workforce. And so by some studies that we've done, it's estimated that by 2020, nearly 50% of the US workforce will be remote workers. And so with Hangouts Meet for Enterprise, you can allow users the flexibility of actually joining meetings on the go by simply dialing into a video conference meeting or joining through a Hangout. And so this also is going to allow you to record meetings so that you can distribute them to your teammates that couldn't actually join. And so we've also seen a number of companies that want to consolidate their video conferencing solution into one package. And so with the Enterprise edition of Hangouts Meet, you can cut down on using multiple third-party conferencing applications, which will ultimately end up saving you money. The next feature that comes in the Hangouts Meet with Enterprise is the ability to live stream up to 100,000 participants. So you can live stream a Hangouts Meet video with up to 100,000 people and put them in view-only mode. To stream a meeting, you just add a URL to the calendar, and the event will be sent view-only to all of the guests that are invited. And so this is really, really good. Perfect use case would be for a company all-hands meeting, when you've got satellite offices that you want to ensure everyone has access to see that video, and you also want them to be able to participate at some level as well. Next up is recording a meeting and saving in Drive. And so this is something that we use very, very often at Google internally, especially for recording training sessions for our new hires or recording all-hand meetings, again, so that they can be shared afterwards. And so with any participant in the same domain, so anyone that's the same company as you, the organizer can start and stop a recording using Meet's hardware. And then all participants are actually going to be notified that the meeting is being recorded. And again, that's going to be indicated by that little red recording button. And then meetings can be recorded for up to 4 hours. And then the last thing is that recordings are saved to a Meet recordings folder in the meeting owner's actual drive. And so the recording is automatically going to be attached to the calendar event, and then it's going to be shared to all of the invited guests that are in the same domain or in the same company.
This has been, like you said, Devin, a lifesaver for us as well. We record trainings, and now we can distribute that content securely without having to do it over and over again.
Exactly.
So the next topic that Devin will be discussing is mobile device management. And this is a feature that has a light version available to business SKU, but there are some advanced features that only enterprise SKU will have access to.
Thanks, Joey. So the first thing that I want to talk about around mobile device management is monitoring and auditing your entire mobile fleet. So as an admin, you would be able to see a report of activities on computers or mobile devices that are used within your organization. So for example, you can see if a user's account was added to a device, or if a device's password doesn't comply with your password policy to add an extra layer of protection. And then you can also review various device activities in a device's audit log in the Google Admin Console. And so you can also get a set of alerts and be notified when an activity occurs. So if anything fishy is happening, if someone has a device that has multiple login failures, you as an admin can get a notification and decide how to take action on that. Next up is the bulk enrollment of company-owned devices. And so makes it very, very simple for admins to enroll all company-owned devices in the mobile device management program. So you can easily enforce device owner mode on multiple Android or iOS company-owned devices. It's not to be dependent on the end user to enable these things. So you're not going to have to rely on your end users enabling these settings. You can do so as the admin. And then you can actually gather info on each and every Android or iOS device that's accessing G Suite to see what they're doing. In the next slide, we have a couple of examples of automated device workflows. And so as an administrator, you can define rules to automate mobile device management tasks. So an example of this would be you can automatically approve all devices that enroll for device management. And you can also set up actions that are triggered when a specified event is detected on either an Android or an iOS device. And so when an event occurs, you can again send a notification email to any of your administrators, and then from there they can block or approve a device, or if they need to, they can even wipe a corporate account from a specific device. And then the last part here is just around device management rules. And so again, as an admin, you can use the advanced management that you want to do things like enforce passwords on devices, have control over device policies, and you can also manage any of your work-related apps on both Android and iOS devices. And again, if you need to, you have the ability to wipe all information from a device if necessary.
Thanks, Devin. Appreciate that. And again, if you have questions, please ask them in the question bar and we'll get to them at the end there. I'm going to now hand it over to Brandon, who's going to talk about some of the features that are, again, available only in Enterprise around backup archiving and integration into GCP. Brandon,
Yeah,
I'll hand it to you.
Thank you, Joey. Sounds great. Yeah, so like Joey said, the first thing I wanted to talk about was Google Vault. Google Vault comes at the higher levels of G Suite, and it does a couple things. One of the best is archiving your data. So this will allow you to retain, hold, and search, and even export all the data that includes email messages, chats, Google Groups, files, and even conversations that you have while in a Hangout. The retention is really interesting because you can get pretty granular with it. You can do it based on the organizational units from a date range, so from this time period to this time period, or this time period going forward, or even if you only want to capture specific search terms that may come up. And then all that data is great to have and everything, but it's pretty useless unless you're able to, sift through it. So that's why Google has eDiscovery. And this will allow you to find and retrieve that valuable information, even from suspended accounts, really. And it's a very smart way to prevent things like data loss from employee turnover, or even, if you need it for legal reasons, if you need to hold on to that information for litigation or whatever, it can be definitely a good way to do that as well. A new thing that's come out is the third-party email archiving. So if you need to hold it for a specific reason, for example, like the SEC storage of broker-dealer records, something like that, you can connect your G Suite to a third-party email archive tool. Google will allow that. Another cool thing that's come recently is G Suite and GCP, like I said, is coming together. The BigQuery has been around for a bit now, and it's a wonderful tool to allow you to capture really interesting data and then utilize it. But one of the new things, I think it was just announced at Next, is Gmail log. So with the Gmail log, you're able to analyze and create reports based on what's going on in the company's email. So like it says there, you can do things like analyze logs and create really high performance custom queries with it. You can retain the data for a certain amount of time or even indefinitely. And then because it's Gmail and BigQuery, you can connect things like Data Studio, and which is what you can see right here, to create an actual visual view of it rather than just rows of data. Again, kind of like with the Vault, it's nice to have this information, but how is it useful? How can we use it? So one of the big ones is creating, like it says there, records for a given subject. So you want to see how many times everybody in your organization has been mentioning this topic, you can definitely do so. Or collaboration engagement, if you want to know who your company is working with the most, and maybe that would be a good list to target a little bit more. You can definitely do that. And then even for security reasons, you can set it up so that you'll see all the last 1,000 records that are marked as spam, but even if it's going to a specific recipient or for what reason that it's happening. So you can see who's being targeted, why they're being targeted, and then maybe attack the problem from that angle with a little bit more information. And like I said earlier, you can create some really wonderful reports through it. Previously, you could do this in the admin console, and they look great, of course. But when you actually connect it to something like Data Studio, it can be really robust. It gets colorful, those different kinds of graphs. As you can see there, you can add icons to it. And you can even keep the data longer. In your admin panel currently, that data will only stay there for the last 6 months or so. But as long as you are paying for the data storage, because this is held in the cloud, you can keep that for ever. And then the last thing there is it doesn't have to be Google. If you're able to do an ETL procedure, you can connect pretty much anything to it and get all your data in one place and visualize it all at one time.
Thank you, Brandon. And now I'm going to try to run through this, quickly but efficiently, because this is really the meat and potatoes of the value of upgrading to enterprise. Besides some of the things you've already seen, but some of the security enhancements that I'm going to show you are really what a lot of companies are gravitating towards enterprise because of. And it's no surprise that the average IT organization manages a bunch of different cloud applications and products, and it's really hard to keep track of all the moving parts within your organization. And a big chunk of data breaches are caused simply by the lack of control. And with G Suite Enterprise, it gives you the ability to easily enforce and create these controls from the admin panel. So DLP for Gmail and Drive is one of the biggest value adds here for enterprise. You can easily set up different rules to prevent all kinds of attacks, all kinds of security breaches. You can scan outbound email for sensitive data, such as credit cards, social security numbers. There's a lot of predefined custom rules already built in to DLP, but you can also create your own custom rules depending on how you and your organization send data out. If you're a hospital, maybe you use a term that's not part of the predefined detectors, but it does allow the setting to say, if somebody tries to send this email with this content, please flag it. So you can specify the appropriate action to take if a email has been flagged inappropriate or unsecure. Now, DLP for Drive is taking it to the next level. So it's scanning all the documents that are being downloaded and shared within your Google Drive. Also has predefined detectors like PII, credit card, tax information. It's really easy to create custom rules to be able to do certain actions within Gmail or Drive. So the basic rule of thumb is there's a trigger, there's a condition, and then there's an action. What do you want G Suite to look for? What happens once it's detected, and what do you want to do as an admin or a manager once these rules have been detected? Drive does have OCR built in, so it does scan even within a PDF or other type of documents for all that content. It's continually scanning and protecting your Drive files using all these DLP rules. And again, there's predefined rules, but there's also custom rules that you can set up. Some of the advanced DLP rules for Gmail and Drive can be based on entire domains, can be based on OU settings. You can predefine them based off geography, and then you could specify what type of actions. You want to quarantine that email? Do you want to block it? Do you want to warn the user? Do you want to send a notification to the manager or to the admin? So a lot of different ways of enforcing and then setting the appropriate action based off what happens for that user. Domain whitelisting. So this prevents a lot of false positives if you have different rules set up to ensure that if you're working with a specific vendor or you're working with a high priority customer, you want to make sure that there's no communication errors. You can whitelist domains. And then you could set rules again, based off the entire domain or by OU. So a lot of custom setup that could be done around security. Now taking it to the back end, so a lot of that was, setting up rules and maintaining certain type of security enforcements. But as the admin, you can now set up different file audit and reporting alerts based off actions. So you could see here in a nice laid out platform on the admin side that you could see all the changes that were made from a particular folder or by a series of date ranges. So you can get very granular or very specific about what you want to audit and then be able to export all that data as well. Setting up these rules is really going to allow you to stay ahead of any potential threats that could possibly come into your domain. Your team can have visibility into which users are being targeted by phishing so that you can head off those potential attacks. When Google Drive files trigger rules, you have a heads up to avoid risking that data being exported or filtrated out to hackers or whoever's trying to get into your data. So you can set these rules up to continuously examine and be able to alert you of potential threats. Added into G Suite Enterprise is second and third layer of scanning attachment. So when, again, people are sending you emails from outside of your domain, G Suite will scan those documents and alert that user if there's anything that Google picks up as being potentially threat or being potential malware or anything that is deemed unsafe or unsecure. Google will open it up in a private secure sandbox to make sure, again, that nothing can get through. So the security side and DLP gives you a lot of features that you don't have access to unless you're on G Suite Enterprise. And then there's the user management side. So the one side is setting up those security rules. The other side is setting up different ways that your users and you as an admin know that anytime they're logging into their account, it's secure. So one-time passwords like two-factor authentication are great. It's a great step in the right direction. But again, like other things, it's not 100% preventive. There are some, there's pros and cons to having two-factor authentication. It's better than having nothing, but you could see that there are some ways that it could be still phishable, and sometimes users find it annoying, and then different sites or depending on the user experience, some users may or may not complain. But there are other ways to enforce security, like Google's Titan key, which is, if you're familiar with like the old Yubico keys, this allows the user to plug into their device with a third layer of authentication, which is this secure key. There's a Bluetooth enablement as well, so that only the person that has access to this key can log into their account. No one else can log into the account unless you have this key or you have the Bluetooth in range. So this allows you to monitor and revoke access or open up access to those users. You could set certain permissions like session length control. If unless a user logs out on their own beforehand, they'll be automatically signed out at the end of the duration. You could set up rules where they can only log in during certain periods of time during the day or within certain IP ranges. A lot of user management that you can enforce above and beyond what's baked into the G Suite admin panel now. And then you have the ability to have a security dashboard that gives you all these visuals in a nice, easy to view pane window that gives you all the metrics in terms of what's happening from a user management perspective, really understanding your organization security settings and being able to decipher if and when certain rules are being broken. The encryption that's built into G Suite Enterprise is MIME encryption. So this, again, gives you that comfort of knowing that if you're sending certain emails out, it is being encrypted. Now, this is different than other third-party encryption services like Zix or Virtru, but this does give you a certain level of encryption to ensure that access to these emails in transit or at rest cannot be jeopardized or hacked. And the security dashboard is something you'll get access to, which is phenomenal in terms of the insights into suspicious activity. This gives you visibility into how spam and malware are targeting your users within your OU or your domain, all in one unified dashboard. And the security health, as part of this dashboard, covers all these applications. So Gmail, Drive, device management, sites, groups, Hangouts, and security. So having a dashboard to give you visual insight into, are your DMARC settings or IMAP settings, apply different policies to Drive. And it gives you the ability to then take actionable insight once certain things have been detected. Data through exposed file sharing, visibility into phishing messages. It gives you metrics to demonstrate your security effectiveness. So this will really set you up for success in terms of security and data breaches, because you could take action right away, or you could set different triggers to take action. And these are some of the insights that you'll get access to from the dashboard. Know which files have been shared outside of your domain or don't fall within the DLP rules that you set. Dive deeper into certain messages to prevent phishing and suspicious malware, so on and so forth. So these are just some of the types of reports that you'll be able to have access to with the security dashboard with G Suite Enterprise. So message delivery reports, spam filtering reports, suspicious device reports, so on and so forth. And once you have this access, once you have this visibility and it's staring you in the face in a really easy to understand view, you're going to be able to take actionable items to prevent or take the next step necessary to make sure that things like this do not happen, not only within your domain, but different OUs that you might have broken up under your primary domain. So the security health page is something that only comes with G Suite Enterprise. Some of the threats that are obviously top of mind for a lot of businesses that the security audit and the security health check and the dashboard will give you the ability to prevent are data leaks, data deletion, malicious activity, account breaches, malware spoofing, phishing, whaling, password cracking, and again, you can enforce password length, password restriction on a user basis or an OU basis. And as you may or may not know, G Suite and anything within the G Suite world that's being stored on Google Cloud is regulated by the toughest standards out there, HIPAA compliant, FedRAMP compliant, ISO certified, and all that. So I think I did leave some time here, but what I really want to make sure that everybody's aware of is the end of year pricing. Now, this pricing is only good until next Friday, I believe, which is the 21st. Standard G Suite Enterprise is $25 a user per month, but right now the special promotion is a 12-month agreement, brings that down 33% to just under $17 a user, and a 24-month agreement brings it down to just under $16 a user. And think about the ROI that you're going to get out of this. Think about if you're spending money on other security tools that this might be able to replace. Think about if you're paying for any backup archiving services that this might be able to replace in a really a base per user price that you know you're going to be locked into for the next year or two. Oh, okay. I think we just made it under 30 minutes, but we'll stay on a little bit longer. Let's just take a look at some questions. If anybody, again, has specific questions, please ask them in the GoToWebinar control panel. And Devin, Brandon, you guys can stay on for a little bit to help answer some of these questions.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
So yeah, looks like question, is this webinar going to be recorded? Yes, it is being recorded, and we will be publishing this on a blog that everyone will have access to. Somebody asked, I have Vault, but I'm missing a good use for it. Until now, when I have had employees leave, I migrate their email history into a common account. I need to access it later. Can I delete those users and let Vault be my archive? Yes. So it is actually a best practice to have a Vault account that is used for storing historical data for terminated employees so that you can free up that license and reassign it to a new user. Somebody asked if I have to send wire information, can this be encrypted? Yeah, so you can set up custom rules based off some sort of common denominator that Gmail can pick up as fits within this rule. So it must be encrypted. So if it's like a 9-letter code, or there just has to be some sort of trigger to determine that particular email needs to be encrypted. Maybe this one's for you, Devin. I have my taskbar on the right side now. I cannot see those icons like calendar, list, etc. unless I close down tasks. How can I change that? I've never heard that before. Have you?
No, I haven't heard that either, but whoever asked that question, I'd be more than happy to connect after the webinar. It might just be a simple issue of it's not set up correctly or it's just hidden, but more than happy to go over that after the call.
Okay. Yes, Emery, well, you would need G Suite Enterprise, number one, to be able to set it up as a rule to be encrypted when it's sent out. But yeah, that would be something you would set up through your admin panel as a rule to encrypt the message based off these parameters. And again, the discounted pricing, because somebody asked to see that again, is a 12-month agreement will get you just under $17 a user. A 24-month agreement will get you just under $16 a user. And the pricing is good until December 21st. So you have about a week or about 10 days or so. Okay, we'll stay on for a little bit and see if anybody else has any questions. Here's one for, let's see, are individual users' drives available for access through the admin console, or is it dependent upon permissions? Are individual users' drives available for access? Yeah, so yeah, I mean, if you're the admin on your account, you do have the ability to access all the drive data independent of who the owner is. If you're a super admin, you have the ability to view all that information.
Yeah, and then on top of that, with things like Drive Audit Log, you would be able to go in and really do some sleuthing on your end if you needed to. So you could see who they've been sending files to, how many times they downloaded a specific file, any sort of type information like that you would have access to.
Yep. And Jennifer, since you just started as admin, I would highly recommend reaching out to us, and we can provide you with an admin training. If you're already an Upcurve customer, we can actually do this at no charge for you. So definitely reach out to us, because admin training is something that's very important, especially with some of the new updates that have been released. Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate it. So we'll hang on a little bit more and see if we can get any more answers for you guys. Again, any questions you have, whether it's just about G Suite Enterprise or anything in G Suite in general. Yes, so Anne-Marie asked if we could do a webinar dedicated to admin training. And we can. The one thing about that, though, is that every scenario or every organization is a little bit different in how they set up their rules. There's a lot of custom rules set up because of how certain organizations apply their data or interact with their users. So there is some general best practices, but Usually admin trainings are most valuable on a one-to-one basis because of the unique way that each organization sets their protocol. Oh, Patrick, hello. Long time no talk. Let me give you the updated one. It should be forwarded, but sometimes it doesn't. Yes, Anne-Marie, just call and we can get you, or email or call and we can get that scheduled. Okay. I know there's a couple people still hanging around, so we welcome any additional questions. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Craig. And keep an eye out for some other announcements coming at the end of the year. There's definitely going to be a lot of new updates coming across the board under the G Suite umbrella. Always reach out to us if you need any training, assistance, or want to discuss integration. Here's some just best of breed integrations that we work with on a pretty consistent basis. So if you're looking at improving your voice over IP, or you're still running like an old PBX, definitely reach out. Let's get the conversation started about how to help you improve that collaboration between your phone system and G Suite, because it does help out tremendously when you have those two connected. And then on the encryption side, if you need another layer of encryption, we work with Zix and Virtue, and then Okta on the identity access SSO side as well. Okay, I think that's it. People are getting back to work now. So Devin, Brandon, thank you for your time. Thank you everybody for spending a little bit of time with us this morning, and we'll look forward to following up with everyone.